strict, so you've got to watch the hand signals.
Yeah,
You've got
sure.
7 minutes left. I got this 1
Okay.
minute, and then if you start to go over, I'll start doing this.
Okay, and then you'll just like give me a bash.
I,
and I'll
Yeah.
I
stop.
thought
Okay.
I thought he was pointing at my boots that they were too high in the frame or
Yeah.
something.
No, you've got to be constantly on guard. That's brilliant. Cool.
Okay, and we're rolling.
Brilliant. So, firstly, congratulations on the film. It's taken off in such a big way.
Thanks.
And in retrospect, it seems sort of so obvious to do this funny Austen with Kate Beckinsale as a sort of commanding lead, but it must have seemed like a bit of a risk at some point to pick up such a neglected Austen.
Yeah, I've had this experience of so many films that don't go forward,
Yeah.
and it was great to have one that sort of was on a dream track. It didn't always seem that way,
Uh-huh.
but once Kate came aboard, everything went really swimmingly.
You've mentioned that also when Stephen Fry came aboard and like had a lot
Yes.
of energy, that was also a big
Yeah.
momentum.
Yes, it's true. I mean, the first person who was cast was Morford Clark,
Uh-huh.
and I think as a screenwriter, a filmmaker, when you get the first person
Right.
for a part, it's like, this became real. There's actually someone who can play this.
Yeah.
And so we had a long casting process, which was really good. It was interrupted by a series I started shooting for Amazon called The Cosmopolitans.
Yeah.
So Chloe was in that,
Yeah.
and so from that, Chloe came into the movie. Emma Greenwell auditioned for The Cosmopolitans, and I saw her and said, "We don't have a part for her in Cosmopolitans, but could you read her for Catherine Vernon?"
Yeah.
So Emma Greenwell comes in as Catherine Vernon, who's sort of the virtuous character.
Uh-huh.
Beautiful actress, great job. So there's so many sort of great people in the cast, and then this breakout performance by Tom Bennett,
Yes. Who's hilarious.
hilarious.
And I read that that was sort of quite spontaneous. Some of his comedy, he would like.
I mean, the thing is, everything is scripted, but I just had a few scenes with him, and he was so funny and so good in those scenes. He gave me all these ideas for new scenes to write for him.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have written them at all if he hadn't been doing this kind of wonderful comic creation.
Yeah. And obviously, Kate's got the sort of big performance.
Huge.
Yeah. What is it, do you think, about Kate that sort of inspires this sort of writing from you?
Well, she's sort of been sort of perfectly bred for this. I mean, people with all the sexy black latex, people forget like where she started and where she comes from.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, her sort of descendants,
Yeah.
and sort of her smarts, her education.
Yeah.
So she really had all the skills necessary to carry this forward. I mean, she's really remarkable. And it's a very hard part. There's a lot of dialogue. It's very important how it's said and what it is. And she just she's like a machine gun. She just did everything.
In a way, there are sort of some similarities between your first part for her as Charlotte and Love
Yes,
Is a Distance.
a lot.
Yeah, but there's a sort of warmth to Lady Susan, I think.
It's strange because Charlotte really isn't evil.
No.
But and you could say that Lady Susan's amoral, but she comes across as much more likable. It's a much nicer dynamic. So the dynamic between Chloe and Kate in Last Days of Disco is a little bit bitter. It's a little bit hard for
Quite
people
toxic at times.
because yes, they're sort of Kate's undermining the Chloe character.
Yeah.
In this case, they're allies.
Yeah.
They're on the same side, and they're sort of laughing as they dominate the world, and that's much more agreeable to watch. It's much more fun.
And it's so nice to see like a female friendship on the screen.
A real female friendship rather than the disloyal one,
Exactly. And
which
it's
is
so
which is even realer. No.
Yeah, I suppose. But it's nice because you sort
Yeah.
of have those scenes that break up the film, and it's
Yeah.
like the private conversations.
Yes.
In Austen, there's not much privacy. So when you get this privacy between two female characters, it's really.
It's interesting you say that they break up the film because in the original version, that was the film, and the other interludes broke that up.
Oh, really?
But I think the sort of comic parts, the Tom Bennett, Sir James Martin parts, the Justin Edwards, Charles Vernon parts, they've become so big in our adaptation that it's kind of a comic relief when Chloe and Kate are together. That's a good observation.
Thank you. And in a way, it's sort of a full circle for Kate who's done Austen before, but
Yes.
obviously in Metropolitan, the characters are discussing Austen a lot, and you've got that sort of play on Mansfield Park. What is it about Austen that sort of like attracts you, do you think?
Well, I'm finding that Austen is really appealing on two levels. One is sort of what you see, which is, this great dialogue, these great interactions. But she also has some sort of deep story sense that I don't quite understand. Because I had no idea this film would work so well.
Yeah.
I thought it was a bit of a stretch. But there's some sort of deep story dynamic in this, in Love and Friendship, and in her other stories that allows them to be adapted to other periods and other situations. So things like Bridget Jones comes out of it, Clueless comes out of it, and they all seem to work. And this works too, and it's sort of a little bit magical. I don't know quite how she did it.
I think it's because Austen, as we know her as a novelist, but she's also such a great dramatist, isn't she? She would be writing plays if she weren't writing novels. You have
Yes.
all this sort of like comic introductions of characters and intercepted letters. I'm wondering if there's another Austen you might want to sort of take on.
There is another Austen. There is another sort of obscure Austen material that I would like to do, but I don't want to do it right away. I'd like to do other things first.
Yeah, what sort of other things?
Well, I'd like to continue with the Cosmopolitans TV show if Amazon will let me. And then I'd like to get to the early 60s Jamaican music story I want to do.
Brilliant. The Cosmopolitans was really great. Obviously, you're working with Chloe again.
And Adam Brody.
Yeah, exactly. When you were working with Chloe and Kate this time round, did you notice any differences from sort of, was it 18 years ago now?
Yeah.
Years ago?
Yes. Well, they were good then, but they're really even better now. They're really professional, really serious, and there's no delays of any kind with them. So it was just straight ahead, you know, doing a beautiful performance and on to the next scene.
Yeah. Slightly sort of silly final question, but I was rewatching all your films and I noticed there's so much dancing. Like obviously in Last Days of Disco and also in Barcelona, that great limbo scene where an American sort of interrupts a continental party. So I was really glad to see a dancing scene in Love and Friendship, which sort of has that sort of like awkward pairing off and people are sort of eyeing each other up.
Yes.
Is that something you sort of like consciously looked to put in?
I mean, it wasn't in the script, but I kept telling people there will be a dancing scene.
Yeah.
There will be a dancing scene.
Yeah.
There will be a dancing scene. So we just sort of concocted that as we were shooting.
Yeah.
It's a standard thing at the period. It's the Sir Roger de Coverley. So you can either go sort of the very formal minuet route or the sort of fun country dance route, and we went the fun country dance route.
Yeah, no, it was really fabulous, and I was just so glad because I was watching and waiting to see.
There's a press play thing about all the dancing in our films, and I hope they will add this dancing. So look for press play dancing in Whit Stillman films.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Thanks a lot.
Is that okay?
Thanks very much.
Thank you so much.